Welcome back to 3 Sport Live and exclusive with the 1994 Nissan Mobile 500. Well, you've seen some great little wee battles amongst the drivers on the track over the weekend. Also, of course, we met some of the team managers like Charlie Lamb from the Iowa Schnitzer BMW team, Peter Wall from the Motorola Pages BMW team, and the other top overseas manager who's here is Frank Gardner, who's with the Diet Coke BMW team, a man who has experienced both triumph and tragedy around the Wellington waterfront.
There's one man at this year's Nissan Mobile 500 who knows more about what the walls of Wellington can do to a car than anyone else. That's Frank Gardner, team manager of the Diet Coke BMWs. 2 years ago, he watched Tony Longhurst win the race, but 3 years ago, he watched in horror as one simple mistake caused the biggest crash in the race's 10-year history. Back out in front, here comes Tony Longhurst trying to whip through the gap there. Oh, and Longhurst has hit the wall! Amazing here at the Nissan Mobile 500, and Tony Longhurst has had it off there with John Saxon, the BMW, and that is a big smash. And Tony Longhurst just trying to squeeze through the entrance, just clipping the guard of John Saxon, then straight into the Armco. This is the reason why the Wellington street race is so demanding and so grueling, and one mistake, you can get it all wrong.
Yeah, it's a bit of a demolition derby down there, and you're always worried about the place because there's no way out any mistake is usually pretty expensive, and that's the only thing I've got against Wellington. It's a bit like a poor man's Monaco, but it's a lovely place. They run a great meeting, and it's nice to be back with the good people.
Now, tell us a bit about your team this year. I mean, you've got Paul Morris, the one back in '92, but also Jeff Brabham joining the new BMW team too.
Yes, I've known the Brabham family for a few years, worked for the old man and driven with the old man and watched the boys grow up, all three of them. It's been a long association.
Gardner says the 2-litre champs across the Tasman is still in the growing stage, but 20 cars are expected to line up on the grid next year. So today, he's looking forward to the challenge of racing Charlie Lamb's BMW Schnitzer team again.
Our championship hasn't been so hotly contested, so therefore we haven't had to fine-tune as much as anybody else. We won the championship and finished 1-2 in Australia, but the opposition was nowhere near as daunting as the opposition that they had in Europe.
Now, last year's 4-hour endurance race may have gone and been replaced by the 2 sprint races, but that doesn't mean there's any less pressure on the drivers or the race teams to get the best out of the cars.
The best setup is terribly important. It is the car that looks in at the corners, it doesn't get too towy, doesn't get hanging the backside out. The car that stays square on the track over the bumps is a fair old combination towards assisting the driver to do what he'd like to do.
And after 40 years of motor racing, the evergreen Aussie great, who's been a driver, engineer and team manager, says he still gets a buzz out of the sport because every year there's always a new model to try and get the most out of.
I was at Pukekohe light years ago with 2.5-litre Climaxes open wheelers, and here we have got 2-litre saloon cars going around about the same time. And yet, you know, I think when I won the New Zealand Grand Prix here, state-of-the-art cars to win it, it seemed as though we were there with open wheelers. And here we have a tin top going just as quick, and next year, of course, the times we're doing now will be obsolescence, because what we're looking.
There you go, Frank Gardner, one of the true great motor racing characters from down under, Australian team manager for the Diet Coke BMW team. Of course, this year, unfortunately for them, their 2-car team suddenly became a 1-car team on Friday night when Paul Morris, the former street race winner, crashed out of contention when he clipped the chicane and went straight into the concrete. Not the sort of thing you want to do around Wellington. Well, from one Aussie character to a great New Zealand character, he's made a name for himself by playing basketball for New Zealand, Stan the Man Hill. Now he's making a name for himself driving, what else would a bloke do but drive an HQ Holden?
You'd usually find this man running up and down the side of a basketball court, not running an HQ Holden around the Wellington waterfront. But the big man of New Zealand basketball, Stan Hill, is a big fan of the old Holdens, and he's been happily racing in his custom-made HQ seat for the past couple of years as car 1 for the Killer Tomato team. What's so special about the HQs? I mean, they're such an institution, aren't they?
Yeah, just the atmosphere of everybody racing. You know, there's 34 racing on the weekend, and, you know, everybody knows everybody else, and it's good camaraderie.
You're all a bit mad too by the look of this Killer Tomato sign.
Well, that's just us. We call ourselves a Killer Tomato racing team, and that's what we race under.
So why Killer Tomato, and why this tomatoes with an attitude?
Oh, it just sort of came along and it's blossomed from there.
And rest assured, these HQ men may look pretty laid back, but racing is deadly serious, for most anyway.
No, it is for some, but it's not for others like me. I just enjoy it being out there.
So what do? You go to crash people out, or do you just hoon round as fast as you can?
Oh, I just go as fast as I can. If they get in the way, well, I just knock them out of it.
And HQ support at HQ is pretty staunch. Racing in this class truly is an institution.
Why HQs? Why not?
Fun to drive, easy to repair. If you think you can drive a motor car, well, you've got to go out and try yourself against everybody else.
They're all even. A lot of us grew up in them. Family sedan. It's fun.
Bolt on, bolt off parts.
For Stan Hill, this new passion doesn't mean basketball has taken a back seat. He's in great demand as a coach these days.
Yeah, I've got a pretty full schedule of basketball. I got back from the States last Friday after a 3-week tour, and we've got another one coming up in February with the juniors. It's pretty full-time as well.
For now, though, it's pedal to the metal for Stan Hill as a Killer Tomato with attitude.
Andrea Johnson behind the scenes in the Nissan Mobile 500 with Stan the Man Hill. Of course, he's gone from a slammer jammer to a gear jammer. Well, one guy who won't be jamming gears next up in the second showdown is Steve Soper. Steve Soper's in Wellington to beat his Schnitzer teammate Joe Winkelhock. And after a couple of close calls here already, Soper reckons Wellington owes him a win.
It's the sort of circuit which, although I've never won, I've always enjoyed coming here, and I feel it owes me a win. I feel that I've led the race a couple of times and then gone out towards the end. I've always enjoyed it in the past, and I feel that I'm competitive here.
Soper just missed out on winning the Japanese Touring Car Championship this year, and he pushed Winkelhock all the way in Macau. And as far as New Zealand goes, Soper's another driver who has a healthy respect for the walls of Wellington. Soper wants to end the year with a win, and victory would be even sweeter if it was over his Schnitzer teammate.
My teammate, yeah, he nicked both wins in Macau, which upset me. He was entitled to. He has got 8 years experience, and I only actually had 1 year before this year. So, but that irritated me a bit, so I'm out for revenge. I want to beat him here.